what if your cat isn't just grooming, but trying to survive something you can't see? What if every quiet moment where they sit alone, licking over and over again, isn't normal at all? Because behind that behaviour, there's something deeper most cat owners completely miss. And once you understand it, you'll start seeing your cat in a completely different way. Most people think it's simple. Cats groom because they're clean. It's natural, it's harmless. But that's not what's really happening. Because when grooming becomes excessive, when it turns repetitive, almost obsessive, your cat isn't cleaning anymore. They're coping. And the reason behind that coping is where things start to get uncomfortable. Let's start with something almost no one talks about. 1. Your cat might be mentally starving. On the outside, your cat looks fine, calm, maybe even lazy, sleeping, licking, resting. It feels peaceful, but inside their brain, something is missing. Cats are not built to live boring lives. They are wired for a sequence. Stalk, chase, pounce, catch, kill, eat. That cycle isn't optional. It's survival coded into their DNA. But indoor life breaks that cycle completely. No prey, no hunt, no purpose. And when that happens, their brain doesn't just accept it. It searches for a replacement. And often, it finds grooming. That repetitive licking isn't random. IT's a substitute for something their body is craving. Because when energy builds up with nowhere to go, it has to escape somehow. And the more mentally unstimulated your cat feels, the more intense that grooming becomes. But what happens when that boredom turns into something emotional? 2. Your cat might actually be feeling alone. Cats have a reputation. They don't need anyone. They're independent, but that idea is dangerously misleading. Because science shows something very different. Cats form real emotional bonds with their owners. Not surface-level attachment, but deep, dependency-based connection. Similar to how infants bond with caregivers. So when you leave, especially for long hours, your cat doesn't just wait. They feel your absence. Imagine this. Your cat spends 10, maybe 12 hours in silence. No interaction. No stimulation. No reassurance. Just time stretching endlessly. And slowly, that silence turns into stress. But cats don't express stress the way humans do. They internalize it. T-Hay self-soothe. And one of the most powerful ways they do that is grooming. Lick. 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 It creates a rhythm. It releases calming chemicals. It gives them control in a moment where they feel none. And over time, it becomes their way of dealing with your absence. And if this is starting to make sense, take a second to like the video and subscribe. Because what we're uncovering here, most cat owners never realize. 3. Stress doesn't look the way you think. Here's where it gets interesting. You might believe your home is calm, safe, stable, but your cat might be experiencing something completely different. Cats are extremely sensitive to their environment, more than most people understand. Loud voices, sudden movements, unpredictable routines, even tension you don't notice, they feel it. For example, studies have shown that cats exposed to chaotic or high-stress environments develop long-term behavioural changes. But they don't panic, they don't act out in obvious ways, they adapt. And one of the ways they adapt is through repetition. Because repetition creates control, so grooming becomes more than a habit, it becomes a coping system. A way to say, I can't control my world, but I can control this. And the more unstable things feel, the more they rely on it. But what if the stress isn't coming from noise or absence? What if it's coming from something even more subtle? 4. Your cat's sense of safety might be quietly breaking. Cats don't just live in your home, they understand it. Every object, every corner, every scent forms a mental map of safety. And here's something most people never notice. Even the smallest change can disrupt that map. Move a chair, change a scent. Bring in a new person, rearrange a room. To you, it's nothing. To your cat, it's everything. Suddenly, familiar spaces don't feel familiar anymore. Their safe zones feel uncertain, and when that happens, your cat tries to rebuild control the only way it knows how. Grooming. Because grooming isn't just cleaning, it's identity. When your cat licks itself, it spreads its own scent. It reassures itself, this is still me, this is still mine. So when their world feels unstable, they overdo it. Not out of habit, but out of need. And here's the part most people miss. Sometimes the problem isn't around them. It's inside them. 5. Pain can hide behind something that looks completely normal. Cats are designed to hide weakness. In the wild, showing pain means becoming a target. So even in your home, that instinct never disappears. And when something hurts, they won't show it directly. They redirect it. One of the most common ways is focused grooming. You might notice your cat licking one specific area again and again. At first, it seems harmless, but then the fur gets thinner. Then the skin starts to show. And suddenly, it's not grooming anymore. It's a signal. Your cat is trying to soothe something you can't see. And here's where it becomes serious. Many owners assume it's behavioral when it's actually physical. Pain, irritation, internal discomfort. And the longer it's ignored, the worse it can get. So the question becomes, are you seeing a habit, or are you missing a warning? 6. Grooming can quietly turn into an emotional addiction. This is where everything connects. Because grooming doesn't just calm your cat, it rewards them. Every time they lick, their brain releases endorphins, chemicals that reduce stress and create relief. So what starts as a response slowly becomes a pattern. Then, a habit. Then, something deeper. Your cat isn't just reacting anymore, they're relying on it. It becomes their escape, their comfort, their control. And even when the original stress disappears, the behavior can stay. Because now, it's not about the problem, it's about the feeling. And breaking that loop isn't easy, because in your cat's mind, this is what safety feels like. But there's one final piece, something most owners never think about, and it might be the most important of all. 7. When the grooming suddenly stops, that's when you really need to pay attention. This is the part that surprises most people. Because while excessive grooming is a warning, silence can be even louder. If your cat has been grooming excessively for weeks, months, maybe longer, and then suddenly stops, don't ignore it. Cats live in patterns. When a deep behavior disappears overnight, something has changed. Sometimes it's a good sign. Maybe the stress is gone. Maybe they finally feel safe again. But other times, it's something else entirely. Illness, fatigue, emotional shutdown. A cat that no longer has the energy or the need to cope. And that's why this matters. Because grooming was never just about cleanliness. It was communication. Every lick was a message. Every pattern was a signal. Your cat has been telling you how they feel this entire time, just not in a way most people understand. So the next time you see your cat grooming, don't just ignore it. Pause. Watch. Look closer. Ask yourself, what are they trying to tell me right now? Because beneath that quiet routine, there's a story unfolding. And now, for the first time, you actually know how to read it.